Hi, this is Denise with PaperKraftD, and welcome to Trash to Treasure Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, I want to share with you ideas on how to repurpose items that most people would traditionally consider trash. These projects can be used in junk journals, planners, scrapbooks, or any multimedia project. Today, I'm going to be showing you how I repurpose little nylon tea bags. So in this example, this is just an example of one that I've created. And in this example, I just simply used a nylon tea bag as a shaker card and added some glitter and a few little sequins in there. I sewed it to the top of this card, and I used this in a multimedia project. Glued this little game piece on the string, added some vellum with printable on the back, and this I made for a multimedia project that I'll show a picture of right now. For this project, you're going to need some nylon tea bags. Here's an example of one that I am using. I took the string off of this one. This one I did not take the string off of, and that's after they're emptied. And I got these from this Kirkland green tea. This is a combination of green tea and matcha, and it has these really lovely nylon tea bags. Now, if you have another type of tea bag that has nylon, that's made out of nylon, go for it. And I understand that other brands of tea make it as well. I'll leave a link for this Kirkland Signature Green Tea in the description box below. And that's an Amazon link. And it is an affiliate link, and if you click on it, it won't cost you any more than if you didn't click on the link, but it'll make it easier for you to find this, and it does help my channel a little bit, very small amount. I'll also leave the item number so that you can find this if you are a Costco member. I'm also going to leave an Amazon link for empty nylon tea bags, ones that are fillable, in case you don't like green tea and you just want to have the nylon bags on their own. Okay. If you don't have any nylon tea bags and don't want to purchase a big lot of them but want to try this technique, you can also just make a little pouch if you'd like. Tulle works really well. You can just either glue it with some paper along the three sides, or sew it. Something like this from the dollar store would work really well too. Or so any kind of sheer fabric would work, as well as something like this. Today I'm not going to make my own pouch because today is about reusing things that we normally would consider trash. So I'm going to stick with the tea bags. So as you start gathering your supplies and things that you want to include in these little mesh bags, a couple things to keep in mind. First of all, this is really easy and really fun, and there's really no way to mess this up. You can put just about anything you want in them, and it's really a great way to use up kind of some of those odds and ends from projects, little scrap pieces of paper, little pieces that maybe you had pulled for different projects and then didn't end up using. A couple things that I would point out, and just things to kind of keep in mind as you're going through this process, is that I personally like to start with a focal point. So for example, these little, pictures, little pictures, if you have little small headshots of people, these little mini paper dolls from Tim Holtz are great. Stamps. They have a really nice bold image and are fairly large and easy to see. Jewelry, if you have a jewelry piece that you really like. Now this one's a little bit on the large size for the pieces that I have, but I'll show you how you can incorporate larger pieces like this. you know, things that, you know, accents that maybe you've made. I did this in a previous video, and I will post a link up above over here, either here or here, where you can see that video on how I made these using glue sticks and silicone molds. You know, or, you know, maybe die cuts, any kind of cardstock die cuts that are fairly firm that you want to use. Those are really helpful too. Even, you know, these kinds of things could be considered a focal point if used in the right way. Stamped images, you know, you could stamp this little bumblebee, and that would be a great, you know, even color it in or not, and that would be a great focal point as well. So I like to start with a focal point, you know, and one of the main things that you've got to consider when doing this, I'm going to just kind of move this stuff out of the way as I get started and keep talking to you about this. So one of the things that I like to keep in mind as I get started is that these are really, they're all about movement. You know, you don't want to put things in here and then, you know, just have them sit. You know, you want them to have movement. So really what you want are things to be able to move around in these bags. This one has some glitter, a little bit of confetti, and some sequins, and it just has a mixture. And this is just as a layered backdrop to this stamped image, which is the focal point, okay? So, you know, if you want to use a larger focal point, you know, like this, or for example, like this, or even like a piece like this, you know, that's how you would incorporate a larger focal point, something that doesn't fit inside of the bag. And this is probably the easiest way to use these little bags, is just to fill it up with some glitter and various little items, you know, that just move around. Now, if you want to incorporate the focal point in the bag, we need to think about size and scale. So when I'm looking at a little bag like this, I'm trying to, you know, find something that takes up maybe 50% to 65% of the room. So about, you know, 1/2 to 2/3 of the size of the bag. And you want it to be able to move around in there. You don't want it so large that it's, you know, it doesn't have anywhere to go. This piece takes up a little bit more than half of this height of this bag, and it does have a slight amount of room to move back and forth. Not a ton, it doesn't need a ton, that's okay. So the other thing I think about when I'm, you know, making these little bags is that these are double-sided, and depending on the application and how you're going to be using this, I want my images to be double-sided as well. So that means that I need to back this with something to give it a little bit more interest, okay, on the back side. And that's where layering comes in. So for example, I might use some of this, okay, because that still fits in there, that's good. All right, so now I need something more on the back. And I try to think about, you know, the texture, because I want to make it interesting inside of this bag. So I try to add, you know, things that have different kinds of colors and shapes and different textures along those lines. So let's see. Okay, that's good. All right, let's see how this goes in here. All right, this is getting rather large, maybe too big. I'm gonna take some of, or maybe just kind of fold this down like that. There we go. Yeah, I like that. Kind of add a little bit of texture there. And then I like this kind of peeking out of the side, but now it's got just a little bit too much. Okay, yeah, that's pretty good, and it still has a little bit of movement in there, which is what we're looking for. Okay. All right, so now I want to add more things in here that'll give a little bit more movement for this. So I'm going to look around and see what I can find, and then I'll be right back and share with you what those items are. Okay, so I've pulled a few things that I think will be really cool to be using in there, and I just want to review very quickly. Okay, so I've got my focal point, which is about 50, 50% to, 1/2 to 2/3 the size of the bag. I've layered it up, used lots of layering, and made it double-sided so that it has interest on both sides. I, am considering the movement of this piece so that it has room to go back and forth if necessary. And as I'm choosing pieces that I want to go in there, I think about a few things. I think about color. So like this little piece right here, this little button kind of brings out some of the warm browns back here. I think about shape. These are kind of square and rectangular, so something circular actually would look really great here. I like that this has new life, kind of the butterfly is symbolic of that. I think about textures. We have a combination of wood and paper and metal. This is shiny, although you can't really see that through the nylon fabric, but these other papers are more matte. So we've got texture, size, and shape, and color, okay, and movement. I'm just picking pieces that I think are going to be small enough to fit in there. Also, I had this, just kind of sitting on my table. I thought that had some little beads in here. I think I got this through my Buy Nothing group. I think somebody was getting rid of it. So yeah, it's got these little beads in here. I don't do that kind of, let's see, not in there. I don't do that kind of beading, so I think that would be really fun, and the colors are kind of nice. They're neutral. There's also this little bow, which might be kind of cute, or some flowers. There's different buttons in here that could work. This has some different colors too. In terms of flowers, that could be interesting. I don't think I need stars and the moon for this particular one, but that's kind of interesting. It looks like there's a little bit of some sort of trim in there. That's kind of interesting too, but not for this project necessarily. I pulled some of these adhesive pearls because I thought those might be interesting, especially for the back, just to add a little bit of contrast, maybe anchor down that piece that we folded. And it, it provides a different shape and texture and some interest. I'm thinking some lace, because again, that gives more texture, maybe as a way to bind the top of this. And then I really like this, just that little dangle. Little dangle would be kind of fun. So I thought maybe something like that, just attached to the lace. So that's kind of what I'm working with here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this out and add the adhesive pearls, because I think that would be kind of a fun addition to the back. And let's see, I like this in the front. It's that new life, and I like this in the front, in front of that. These pieces back here are larger, so I'm thinking maybe add This is just a little scrap of some fabric. Let's see, how can I put that in there? Maybe just like that. And I'm trying to keep this one not too thick. I don't want it too thick. All right, there we go. Got a little bit of fabric in there. All right, and it's okay to change our minds. I don't think I'm gonna include that piece. It's too bulky and it's not really what I'm looking for in this. And I've got lace, which adds that kind of texture anyway. So I'm good with that. Do I want to add a little bow in the back? Maybe. There we go. That looks cute. I could add one of these buttons, maybe. Little off-white one. That doesn't look too bad. I want a similar one, maybe a black button even. That might look kind of cool on the front. I like odd numbers, so yeah, I like that. That looks really striking. I think that looks good. Okay, all right, that's good. And then I'm just gonna add a few of these little beads. Okay, so now before I seal this up, I'm just going to go through my internal checklist. Okay, so it has a focal point. That's great. And that takes up about, 50, half to 2/3 of the space. I've got double-sided. Looks good from both sides. I've got movement of the various pieces, which I love. I've got layering for some interest. I've got various textures, the metal, the wood, the plastic, the pearls, the bow, the fabric, and then the beads, which are kind of glass. I've got different sizes. So I've got, various sizes of the buttons in the metal. I've got different sizes of these little bead pieces in here. I've got different colors. I've got some blacks, I've got the beiges, and those kind of echo each other. I've got some beiges and off-whites. So I've got a bit of interest color-wise. And I've got different shapes. So I've got the square of the stamp. I've got the circles. I've got these little longer rods. I've got a bow. I've got more circles. I've got the rectangular pieces back here. And I've got this, kind of odd shape piece back there. So I think I'm good. So I've got my focal point, I've got double-sided, I've got layering, I've got movement, I've got texture, size, color, and shape. I'm super happy with this. I am going to put a piece of paper over the top of this, glue it down, and then I'm going to add the lace on top of it. It makes, you can just glue it if you want. There's no sewing necessary for this. I'm going to go ahead and sew it down, and it does make it easier for sewing if you have a piece of paper underneath this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so just to show you what I've done, I've taken this little tag. I don't know, I pulled this off some clothing or something. I kind of folded it in half, burnished it down, and then made a crease, and then I added just some art glitter glue there. And I'm just gonna fold it down over the top of it like that. And you could totally leave it like that if you want. Or you can add the lace over top, or you can add just the lace to one side. Doesn't really matter. I think I'm gonna cut this like that, like that. actually liking that just like that. Maybe I'll do it like that on that side, and that way it kind of sticks up a little bit. I kind of like that, actually. Maybe I'll just do that. There we go. I'm just adding a little bit of art glitter glue there. Just enough so that I can, and you can see you can make this as tall as you want or as not tall as you want. Oh, I should have actually, before I did that, I should have, I'm gonna put this string so it's straight across the top like that. Because for some reason the string's down there on these. Okay, and then I'm gonna take and I'll sew along there. This, I could add a little something there. I'm thinking maybe use one of these tickets. That might be kind of cool. All right, I'm gonna glue it down far enough that you won't see this white part. There we go. Burnish it down a little bit, and then I'm just going to add a little lace over the top, I do believe. Okay, so here is what this looks like when I finished it. After I sewed it, I added this little charm that we had made earlier. You can see it's got lots of movement in it. It's got lots of interest. I like the, I guess it's Chinese characters across the top. I thought those were super cute. It's got all sorts of fun stuff on the back, and I put the trim, the lace, so it went over the edge of that, and I really like that. I sewed it down just to make sure it's nice and solid. And I'll show you how I'm going to use how all of these can be used in a journal at the very end of this video. So this one's a little bigger than the other style that I had, so I want to put like a little photo in here, and I don't have any photos that might work, so I'm gonna use some of this printable, and I think I like this little girl right here. She's so pretty. Well, she's not a little girl, she's a woman, and that's kind of a large, it's a little bit of a large focal point, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. All right, so that'll fit, I think, pretty well in there. It's a little bit large, probably more closer to 3/4 of the size. So for a focal point, it's actually pretty large. So I think in terms of what I'm going to use to layer up, I'm not going to do too much over layering on this. I'm going to go through my little container here, see what colors I've got. Really love this. This has lots of texture on it. I think it's beautiful. And this has a music theme. You can't really tell too much just looking at it, but I think I want to add a little bit of music to that. All right, so then the back, I've got this. It's got lots of texture on it, which I love. I think that looks super cool. And then just maybe add a little piece like that. There we go. I like that. Okay. I think I'm going to keep this one fairly simple. I might want to add a little something to the front of this. Okay, so I didn't really grab a whole heck of a lot for this one. I think I'm going to reuse some of the pieces in here because I think the colors are really great for this. This is musical, so I thought this little music, what is this? paperclip would be good. I was initially going to put it like this, but then I thought, it actually looks better on this side, like that, next to the music paper. So I like that. I like the way that looks. And then on this side, I was thinking I'd add this little dangle here. Okay, and then I thought I'd add some of these, maybe some buttons, maybe even a flower, and then these stars and the moon, because this is actually from a gypsy kit that I have called Wandering Soul Kit, and she's actually a gypsy, so I thought that would be kind of a fun addition. So I'm going to go ahead and find a little thing that I can use to attach that, and I'll be back. Okay, so I just used a smaller jump ring to add that on, and I really like the way that looks there. Now I'm gonna have to, and one of my things that I'm always looking for is, does it have movement? Yes, this does still have some movement, although it's, more limited movement. Okay, so now I'm gonna have to figure out how to get that in there. So I think I'm gonna have to cut this a little bit more here, just to fit it in. Okay, so before we close this up, let's just go through our checklist again. All right, we've got the focal point. And the focal point takes up, in this case, it's pretty large. So, but it takes up between 50% to 75% of the space. We've got it double-sided. There's interest on both sides. There's layering. I think there's lots of different layers on this, which I love, especially in the back. We have various different textures with the thread and the metal and the paper and the glass. We have different sizes of buttons and beads and whatnot. We have different shapes, so not everything's round. We've got some square or rectangular, we've got the round, we've got this interesting cross shape, we got the stars and the moons, which are different shapes, and we've got different colors, so not everything exactly the same color. We've got some like a bronze color, silver, kind of antique silver. We've got some grays, we've got some blacks and some whites and some creams. So really cool. All right, and most importantly, we have movement. All right, so that's excellent. All right, I need to put this all the way down. Let's see. This could be difficult to get. I may have to trim this more for me to get the... Or, ooh, what about this? Could I make this sideways like that? Yes, I could. That would give me more room for this, for sealing it. Okay, yes, I like that idea. All right, so I'm gonna handle that into there. I'll be back. Okay, I really like the way that turned out. I did just a basting stitch along here, and so you can see it really still has a lot of, the focal point still has a lot of room to move, and I love the way that turned out, and I love all the movement that we're getting in here. Add some of the beads to the other side. There we go. Look at how cool that is. All right, and sometimes it, obscures her face a little bit, but that's okay, because that makes it interesting. You're like, ooh, who is that? I want to see that. All right, so with this piece, I think what I want to make is a hidden paper clip with this. So I have these bases for hidden paper clips. that I've previously made, and the paper clip is between these two pieces of paper, and it just goes over the page like that. So the paper clip's here, there's another one here, and there's another one here, and I can cut these apart. You see, like that. So what I'm thinking is I'd use like this piece here. Oh yeah, I really like that. All right, so I'm gonna cut it off like around there. Let's see, I'm gonna cut it off like right here. And I'll put that away, use that for a different project. Okay, and then I'm going to glue this down like that. I like all this music, so I might just include all of that. Okay. I really like that. I'll do a little bit more collaging on the back here. Just feels like it needs a little bit more. Awesome. Perfect. All right, I like that. This feels like it needs a little something here. Bring some more of this stuff back in here to kind of link that in with that. Okay, so here's how this one turned out. And I'm going to show you all of them at the end, how they would go into a journal. But this is a hidden paper clip, and it's got some decoration on both sides. And this is the little bag. It has lots of movement, lots of texture, all sorts of interest on the back as well. It's double-sided. Oh, I added some little pearls there on the back of that. I thought that would be cute. And this can either be a charm hanging off of the, paper clip outside of the journal or inside the journal. Either way. So it'd be really cute. Okay. Okay, so here are the pieces that we've created together so far. This video is getting a little bit long, so I'm going to go ahead and show you the two other pieces that I made as examples on what you can do with these for repurposing these nylon tea bags. And if you do want to see a process video on how I made these other two, just leave a note in the comments and I'll see about getting that done. But you've seen in detail how I made both of these, so I think you kind of get the idea on what's involved. Here's an example of using a tea bag with a focal point that's outside of the little bag. So this one is where I used this accent piece. I had made this previously in a previous video. I'll put the link up above for that video with glue stick and silicone molds. And I just, in this, I simply put some little Prima flowers, some sequins, a little bit of lace that I stapled to that piece. And, it's actually very, very simple. A little bit of sari silk across the top and sewed it. And then I just layered this accent piece over the top of it, added a little label. And this, I'll show you how I'll use this for all of them at the very end of this video, so you can get an idea of how versatile these little projects are. And then the last piece that I made, I have to say, I think this one is my favorite. This just reminds me of that little poem, What Are Little Boys Made Out of? I use one of the little Tim Holtz Ideology figures, the mini ones on here. I added a die cut wings to the back, and then some vintage buttons, which I absolutely love these vintage buttons. They just remind me of a boy. And then just little odds and ends of, you know, stuff that a little boy would have in his pocket. You know, I just have this little skating key, a little snap, some of that ball chain right there. And then the back. So I just have all sorts of things in here the little boy might find in a little boy's pocket. You know, a little bug, a little bit of balled up string, some little moss in there, some netting, a safety pin, a little hook and eye screw right there. You know, just want a little interesting paper clip with an interesting spiral shape, and age this little piece of trim across the top so it looked like it was, you know, from a boy's pocket. Some staples from a tiny attacher, and I like that the back of this is good, and it's kind of upside down good. I had a little ticket on here and a little gear in a little metal piece that kind of is on some dimensional tape there. But I love that it has, you know, lots and lots of movement. You know, things can, you know, it's always, the thing about this is that it's not like a static piece of art. It's constantly changing and moving, and you're seeing new layers. So to wrap up, I want to show you how these pieces can be used in journals. I've already showed you how I used this piece in a multimedia piece, but, you know, it could also just be added, you know, or something very similar to it, to a pocket like this, you know, and then used in a journal as a tuck spot, like that. It could also be added to a tag. I probably wouldn't want to make it quite so dimensional if I did, but, you know, then you have really a very interesting tag as well. So that's kind of cool. A little piece like this can also be added to a pocket or a belly band or a tuck spot, just as a focal point, and have some interest to it. And what I would do is just kind of use a tiny attacher right about here and just tack it down, and that way you can kind of, you know, lift it up and see the back as well, have some interest. And then, you know, again, use it as a tuck spot or on a belly band. Even a top flip would be really cool. So lots and lots of ways that you could use something like this in your journals. A lot of times I struggle with books like this that I'm converting into a junk journal, things that have just absolutely gorgeous covers to begin with that you don't really want to glue things down to. I wouldn't want to, yeah, I almost want to leave this as it is. It's so beautiful, right? And you know, once you glue it down, then you kind of lose the cohesiveness of the cover. However, you know, I do oftentimes want to embellish it a little bit more. That's where something like this comes in. And this is just kind of an over the page flip, and you can add more decoration to the back or add journaling pages to the inside. This just provides a little added interest to the cover without really destroying the cover itself. And you know, this is really fun because you can kind of have a peekaboo effect of, you know, what's behind here as you get some movement in this. You can lift it up. You have a little bit of, you know, this piece of focal point, you know, and this lace. And if you want to use it for a different book, you can always cut this lace. You could tear this bottom. There's lots of ways that, you know, you could adjust this for your needs. And then the last two pieces I'm just going to demonstrate in this journal that I made in a previous video, and I'll link that as well to the front, but I'm just going to open it up so you can see what I'm talking about. So for example, if I wanted to use this in this journal, you know, this would be a hidden paper clip. So I just slip this right over the top of the journal like that. And this could hang, you know, inside the journal. So if I move this closer to this side, this could go closer to the spine and just hang off the edge of the spine like that. So that just adds, you know, a lot of interest to the journal, and is a kind of a cool little embellishment. And then this last piece you could be used just as like a bookmark. So you could include it. So you have the edge hanging out like that, and it just is like a little interesting dangle. You could also do a similar thing, making it upside down and having the dangle hang down the bottom. That would be really fun too, especially if you just stapled the piece to the page and then had the dangle sitting there. But this is just a lot of fun, you know, just to have kind of floating around in the album. And this one's just my absolute favorite. I love it. Okay, so here are the examples that I've made today to show you how you can repurpose nylon tea bags. I have 5 different examples here, and I hope that, you know, you found this useful. Again, I just want to reiterate that I like to start with a focal point. I like to think about the movement and the fact that the bags are double-sided. I like lots of layering, and I like to consider texture, size and scale, color, and shape as I'm going through and making these. Again, they're a lot of fun. You really can't go wrong. Pretty much anything goes in these, and you can add, as I've shown you, lots of different types of things in these bags. And they make great additions to your junk journals, your multimedia projects, your planners, scrapbooks, whatever your passion is. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found this video helpful and informative. If you did like it, please leave me a thumbs up. Let me know if you would like me to post a process video on how I made these 2 items. And let me know if you've ever repurposed tea bags like this before. I'm really curious to see, you know, what other people come up with. And if you do repurpose, please share and use a hashtag Trash to Treasure Tuesdays, so we can all share our ideas on how to repurpose these things that normally would just go in the trash. And if you'd like to see more content like this in the future, please subscribe to my channel. Again, this is Denise with PaperKraftD, and craft on.